No, I listen to it all the time. I tell all my friends to smack it raw.
Following podcast contains mature content. The views and opinions expressed by the host are not necessarily those of the host. Listener discretion is advised. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Smackin' Raw podcast, episode 178. I am your host, the Warden, Matt Ritter, and I am here with my co-host, Daddy Delgado himself. Vince, what's going on, man?
Not much, man. Not much. Just getting home from a long days of work, but I'm ready to talk some wrestling and have a good time, man.
All right. Well, as we always do, unfortunately, we were supposed to have our first legit pro wrestler on with us tonight from Chicago, Mr. J Thunder. I was gonna, get the official name of the championship that he holds. I was gonna get his weight. I was gonna do a whole Bruce Buffer thing to announce him. But we're gonna have to hold off on that. He's had some computer issues, so we'll get him back on soon. So it's just you and me tonight, but we got a lot of shit to talk about anyway. So
yeah, for sure.
First and foremost, ladies and gentlemen, go check out Young Kings Wrestling. If you follow me at Matt Ritter, that's at MATTRIDDER. You guys can get your Black Lives Matter t-shirt that Vince is struggling to show you on the video. It's my pinned tweet. So basically, money, profits.
I just splashed the YouTube version of this podcast. So more incentive for you guys to go ahead and watch it.
There you go. Profits from this t-shirt are put in the hands of people that are going to make a difference, that support the Black Lives Matter movement, but not the actual Black Lives Matter organization. So the people that need the money are going to get the money to do the things that need to get done. Please go support them, buy their shirt. And if you've already done that, then go check out our link tree, hit our merch store and buy our shirts. And maybe one day Travis will eventually cut me a merch check for all the fucking shirts I've sold.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Probably not.
So let's get into news and rumors first and foremost, because it's going to be the hotly debated, I think. Well, maybe not debated between you and me, but it's definitely going to be hotly discussed by me. The shit with the Undertaker on Twitter. So did you see the quote from his podcast with Joe Rogan?
I saw the quote. I don't have everything word for word, but the gist of it basically saying back in my day, they were real men in the locker room and not just a bunch of guys playing video games. The product now is soft, and he longs for the old days of men going into the locker rooms with knives, guns, and drugs.
Okay, so that's what everyone took it as, and that's not what he said. Now, I will tell you, I'm a fan of a Kenny For Your Thoughts. They did a really good explanation, and Kenny really broke down two quotes from The Undertaker from that podcast and what he kind of thinks they mean. And it's one of the few things on his show that I agree with, which, real quick, that is the beauty. Like, Kenny and I have a great relationship. I would say we're friends, pseudo internet friends, because we haven't met in person, but we have a really good relationship. We agree on very little. You don't need to agree with people to get along with people or to like people or to follow people or to support people. Just because they don't think the exact same way you do does not mean that you cannot enjoy that person or their content, or that you have to stop liking them because they look at things differently than you. Kenny and I don't agree on a lot. This point we did agree on, and that brings me to The Undertaker. So, not verbatim because I don't have it memorized, but basically he said, in the old days, he would come into a locker room and there would be fucking crusty old men with guns and knives in their bags, and shit got handled. Now he walks into a locker room and everyone's worried about making themselves look pretty and playing video games. He guesses it's evolution. He doesn't really know where it is, but he just preferred a time when men were men.
That's his definition of men.
Exactly. And he can have his own. I have my own definition of what makes a man. You have yours. We might not agree on what we both think makes a man a man. And we don't have to agree with the Undertaker's because literally it's just his opinion. So who fucking cares what the Undertaker thinks makes a man?
Yeah. So I wasn't too butthurt or like upset about his comments. I mean, these are more or less similar comments he's made in the past. I swear I've seen or heard him say somewhere before that he like now everybody's playing video games and they're like way more soft than back in the day. So I feel like I've heard that to like like or similar to that from the Undertaker sometime soon. But I mean, people are upset about it. I don't think he meant to throw shots at anyone in particular or the
No.
roster in general. It's just him saying his personal preference. He prefers back in the day. And again, a different guy, different mentality of what makes a man in a great locker room. I would say that the locker room back in the day, yes, she got handled, but it was way more toxic than it is now. I feel like there's more of a brotherhood and more of a family vibe in the locker room now compared to back in the day. There's not so much politicking back and forth and not so much cutthroat from the roster members.
Correct, but you also have to realize that coming with that brotherhood and that shared mentality of we all want to succeed, you're not getting stars.
Yeah.
So here's the point I'm going to make. I'm not going to say the Undertaker is right because I don't necessarily agree with everything he said. And I'm not going to say the Undertaker is wrong because I don't necessarily disagree with everything he said.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. He came from a time where you were out for yourself and you fought for a spot and you put in your best effort to become the best you can be at wrestling. Not you trusted guys and you worked with guys, but you were out for yourself. It was a competitive, gritty environment. That's what he came up in. That's what he was born in. So that is what he thinks is best, and that's what he prefers.
I would also argue that Taker hasn't really been in this locker room long enough to know whether or not people are competitive enough to want to be the best version of themselves in pro wrestling. You could argue that a Roman Reigns, yeah, he wants to see other guys succeed, like his cousins, Apollo Crews, Big E, and a bunch of other guys, but he's a star. Are you trying to tell me Roman Reigns isn't a star? Of course he's a big draw. He's a big name. He's a big star. A Sasha Banks, a Bailey, the Four Horsewomen. You could say that people are so sick of them and Alexa Bliss. They're all want others to succeed.
I can't wait to talk about Alexa Bliss.
Yeah, I bet you can't. Again, spoilers alert. This is mostly going to be Matt running on Raw, but yeah, no, I think there's still that competitive edge, but there's just less toxicity within the roster members and more of a kind of like I want Matt to succeed, but I'm gonna be the best version of myself too. I'm just not gonna rely on Matt all the time,
But and see, you make a great point, which is why I have you on here. Here's the thing: the locker room and the way it is and the form that it is with these guys, quote unquote, playing video games and all that shit. That's not a locker room Undertaker's really spent any significant time in. This Undertaker is there for 1, 2, maybe 3 appearances a year.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only time he's spending with those guys. He's just saying he prefers a time, and you have to remember he's looking back on a time fondly because it was, listen, coming up in wrestling, when he was on the road every day, he had these bonds, he has these memories. It's like the fans that love the Attitude Era. They look at it with rose-colored glasses because it was their prime. It was when they had memories and fun and all of this stuff. Same with the Ruthless Aggression kids now. Like, we all look at what we came up growing up with as the best time because we have all of these memories, and that's what he has. So if he prefers guys smoking cigars and playing bones and drinking whiskey straight and snorting cocaine off each other's cocks, that's what he prefers. And there's nothing wrong with him preferring something. He's not saying it's right, these guys are wrong. He's just saying, for me, that's what I'd rather have.
Yeah. To close off, my whole point is Undertaker hasn't spent enough time with this kind of locker room. He hasn't really tested these waters out. He sounds like a guy or a girl that says, I only like to do it missionary style, but it's never tried anal. This current generation is anal. Undertaker's never had anal sex. So he just is more comfortable with standard missionary. It's like you can't say anal isn't for you without trying it, and then you try it, and like you have to try anal. You have to be inside there long enough. I'm talking about the locker room here.
I
You
know
have
what
to
you're
be
talking about. No,
you have
I
to
got
be
you.
inside. No, you have to be inside that locker room long enough to know whether or not that's for you or not. And it might not be for you, but you got to be really deep inside there to really find out if it's for you.
I mean, I don't know necessarily if that analogy matches, because the way Undertaker described it is this locker room is a lot more like missionary, and his locker room was like forced anal. But
So he likes
either way, I get your point, and I get what you're saying, Vince. That's my point is the Undertaker can prefer whatever the fuck the Undertaker can prefer, and you don't need to go on the internet and try and cancel him for it or tear it down because it's not what you like. The
There's
Undertaker
other stuff
doesn't
you can
have to
cancel the
like.
Undertaker for.
Exactly. Here's the thing. Everyone knows I've got Undertaker shit everywhere. I'm a huge Undertaker fan. Mark Calloway, the guy that wears thin blue line t-shirts and may or may not be a Trump supporter, that is not my guy. I do not support his political views or his outlook on, police and things like that. I do not share those viewpoints. I do not support those viewpoints. But the character that I grew up with for 30 years, the man that's on my TV, not the man that goes home, but the man that's on my TV, that's who I support. That's who I love. You don't have to agree with him. I don't necessarily agree with him. I will say he's not saying bring guns and knives to the locker room. And a lot of people took it that way, and you're fucking crazy. That's not what he's saying. He's just saying there were tough guys back then, and it was a tough man's business, and he doesn't feel like it is anymore.
That's his opinion. My opinion would say that there's just enough tough guys in this locker room that would fit in back then.
Probably. I'm just saying it's his opinion, and we don't have to agree with it, but we also don't have to go on social media and be like, oh my God, the Undertaker said this and I don't agree, and he's a terrible person, because no, he's not. It's just what he would rather have.
Yeah.
He's not going to get it. He's fucking retired. So why do you people care? Anyway, we're going to move on. We spent way too much time on that. WrestleMania. They announced the next 3 WrestleManias. This year, Tampa.
Yeah.
Next year, Texas.
Yes.
And then Hollywood.
Finally. We're supposed to get Hollywood this year.
So more than likely, we're not going to see The Rock for 3 years. Not this year, not next year. Maybe in Hollywood. More than likely.
He is from Florida.
He is.
The Samoan dynasty are from the Florida area, so it would be fitting to have him in Tampa this year.
Listen, all I'm going to say is if you do WrestleMania Hollywood, I need the fucking movie trailers again.
Yes, please. I love them. They
trailers
were amazing.
I still love them.
My favorite one is definitely the Pulp Fiction one with Booker T and Big Girl.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's my fucking favorite.
As a pervert, and so here's the thing, guys. To go kind of back to the point of how everyone's a little different. So on this podcast, the Warden Matt Ritter is the Warden Matt Ritter, and that's Matt Ritter. It's me, who I really am, cranked up to 11. Like you always hear wrestlers say, it's them cranked up to 11. I am not running around my house, drooling with my tongue out, jacking my dick off, watching porn constantly, and turning everything.
There's nothing wrong with that.
There's not, and turning everything into an innuendo. I am jacking off every day. I am watching porn. I am goosing my wife, chasing her around, and occasionally turning the things she says into sexual innuendo, but not to the extent that you hear on this podcast. This is me turned up to 11 for entertainment.
I would say more or less with me or me the same. I think you bring it out of me a little bit more whenever we do a podcast, and I feel like it's leaked into my personal life.
It does that. But let me tell you what, it's a positive. It's not a negative.
Yeah.
But same thing. The man, the Undertaker, the man Mark Calloway that we don't support, and the Undertaker, they're not the same person. These are the views of Mark Calloway. Do not let this taint your view of something that you've grown up with and loved your entire life.
Oh, I still love the Undertaker character to this day. I think the thing that Mark Calloway is doing more to ruin the Undertaker for me is him returning so constantly and just ruin the mystique.
Well, I don't mind him doing interviews and things like that. I will say he was thrown out as one of the possible names for WrestleMania. I do not, as an Undertaker fan, I do not want to see the Undertaker, especially this year at WrestleMania, for anything. You did your farewell. You did it at Survivor Series when it was exactly 30 years to the day of his debut. That was perfect. I know you want to get him out there for a crowd and pop. Don't do it. You did it. He had his moment. Let it cool down. Bring him back for a Legends Night in a couple of years or something like that.
I would
do not
say
drag him out.
if you bring him out for WrestleMania weekend, it's only if you bring him in for the Hall of Fame.
There you go. I'm with that too.
Which, by the way, before we move on, can we induct Dave Bautista in the 2020 Hall of Fame already, please?
Well, not just Dave Bautista, the Bellas.
Bellas. I just forgot who else was in it.
The NWO.
NWO was in it? No, I don't want. Forget the NWO. Just bring back X-Pac, Hall, and Nash.
Well, yeah, we can fuck Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, that's why I'm not trying to see Terry.
And that's the thing. You can tarnish your legacy. The Undertaker, absolutely, with me, as much as I'm a fan, can tarnish his legacy, but he has to do more than say, I like the old era of wrestling locker rooms better than the new era. He's got to come out and call Mark Henry the N-word or do something that's actually wrong and egregious, like Hulk Hogan did, to get canceled. Not just say, I prefer the old style of wrestling or the old locker room. I don't like these kids playing video games. That's not my definition of a man. Okay, that's not your definition of a man. I don't think they care if you define them as a man or not. They're still going to go out there and do their shit, and they're probably happy with the way they are. And if they are, that's a conversation to be had between them and him.
Exactly.
Man to man. Yeah. My favorite WrestleMania Hollywood trailer was Kurt Angle and Christy Hemme.
Oh yes, I forgot about it.
That was mine.
Mae Young at the end said, like, I'll have what they're having.
Yeah, I also really like the Are You Talking to Me? Since we talked about Batista.
No, that's my favorite. That's my fucking favorite. Yeah. Never mind. I changed my mind. That was You Talking to Me.
There's so many good ones. Matt Hardy. Oh, go ahead.
The Triple H Braveheart one.
Braveheart,
yeah, yep. That's the one.
You had Undertaker as Dirty Harry, which again, Dirty Harry, Clint Eastwood, he fucking molded himself when he returned as a fucking old school cowboy, because that is what he thinks a tough guy is, and that's what he thinks a man is. Like, that's just his viewpoint of what a man is. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. But anyway, we're moving on. Matt Hardy and Private Party.
He says
on Impact, Private Party, #1 contenders for the Impact Tag Team Champions. How do you feel about Private Party being #1 contenders for the Impact Tag Team Championships? Kenny Omega getting a clean win over Rich Swann on an Impact pay-per-view, and this entire crossover that we've got between AEW and Impact right now.
I mean, there's not necessarily anything bad with it. It's obviously helping Impact a lot with viewers and streams on both their Twitch and Access TV. It's benefiting AEW as well, because now you're able to like bring in the Good Brothers and Don Callis, and you got something going here, a working partnership. I would say my only concern about this is that at the end of the day, and we've talked about this on the Smack Raw podcast on the group chat with
which is Kevin. Why I brought it up, because we agree, so I'm not going to fight with you on it.
I totally think this is okay. This is cool. I just don't know necessarily what the story is. Like Kevin tried to explain the story to us, but there's really no big like, here, this is the story. This is why this is happening, other than Don Callis runs Impact and he's friends with Kenny, so he's letting people cross over back and forth. Kind of wish they go lean into like the whole Mortal Kombat stuff and like open portals or like dimensions, and that's why they're going back and forth. Okay. We're getting a lot of cool matches. Private Party getting an opportunity to shine over there on Impact is way better than being on AEW Dark. Them getting a tag team title match will be good for them. I don't think they'll win whatsoever, but it's good for them, and it's going to make some dream matches. It's going to make some crossover, which is always good. But again, Impact needs to look good here. Rich Swann losing clean to a Kenny Omega. No offense to Rich Swann, but he's not on the level of a Kenny Omega. He's not even on the level of, I would say, even a Matt Hardy when he was Impact champion. He's like so low, like in terms of like, if we want to take this to Dragon Ball Z, in terms of power levels.
Hold on. That is your perception, though, because you do not watch Impact, correct?
Fair. Yes, that's
you
fair.
are judging Rich Swann based on your previous knowledge of Rich Swann, but you have not watched his current run as champion.
His current run as champion, I have not watched.
Okay.
I've watched some of his stuff when he joined Impact, but not since
Okay.
his world title run.
You can go ahead and finish. You were talking about power levels. I wanted to point out that this is not your opinion based on I've been watching Rich Swann, and I don't think the current Rich Swann is up to that level. It's what I've seen of Rich Swann. I don't see him in that light, but you also don't have all of the information.
Exactly. So I would say, to me, he just doesn't have that name value, that power level. If we want to take this to Dragon Ball Z levels, which we always do, we always find
Always do.
always
Rick's
find
gonna be
some
pissed.
Rick's gonna always be pissed whenever we talk Dragon Ball without him here. But if we talk on power levels, I don't think Rich Swann is at a level of a Kenny Omega. I would say, like I said, of Matt Hardy is a higher power level than the Rich Swann.
So
But
are you saying Rich Swann's like maybe a Krillin?
yeah,
And Matt Hardy would be like a Piccolo, whereas Kenny Omega's up there with like a Goku or a Vegeta.
I give him a little bit more Team Gohan.
Teen
'Cause
Gohan.
I give him
Okay,
more of a Team Gohan.
I'm with you.
Because
I'm with you on that.
yeah,
I'd give him adult Gohan. Anyway,
well, currently he's adult Gohan. At his peak, the cleaner Kenny Omega was Teen Gohan. That's why I made the Gohan comparison, because he used to be Teen Gohan. Now he's adult Gohan, trying
Okay.
to find his mystic form again.
okay.
But yeah, it's just that maybe I need to see more of Rich Swann. But to be honest, that dude just screams cruiserweight to me. He screams mid carder to me at best, upper mid carder at best. He doesn't scream world champion, and Impact has a bad habit of putting the world titles on guys that, this guy has somewhat of a name. Let me put a title on him. Eric Young was the world champion. As much as I like Eric Young, or used to like Eric Young, he's not a world champion kind of guy.
So I will say this: I've tried to watch Impact, and the way they present their product does not appeal to me. And it might also be that everything that I've tried to watch of Impact recently has been without crowds, whereas AEW had their crowds and WWE has done the Thunderdome and stuff. So it's hard for me to go back to not watching crowds. I think I started trying to watch again around the time they were doing the Wrestlers House stuff, and it was a lot of what I've seen from Impact is just a little more silly than what I prefer all of the time. Like a lot of it is. But I will say this. I like that they give these guys these, as you put them, mid carders, for a better sake of better sake, that opportunity to run with a heavyweight championship, when in a WWE or an AEW might not see that.
Props.
I do appreciate that.
I will say this: they did give Penta the world title.
Mm-hmm.
He did have a run as world champion with Sami Callihan, had a brutal freaking match. And just all around, I feel like Impact does give guys a little bit more of a shot. And
they do really good shit. They do a lot of innovative shit. Their women's division was way ahead of everyone else's.
Exactly.
They do a lot of really cool shit. There's just something in the Impact formula that is missing for me, for them to really feel prominent.
You know what they need? They're missing what TNA had back in the day, where you had big names, where like they transcend what you see, like an AJ Styles, a Samoa Joe, a Kurt Angle type of guys, where or Christopher Daniels back in his prime, in his peak, guys with big name, big notoriety in the indie scene. Like, imagine this. Let's say you take Pentagon, and you take a Kevin Owens, and you take Finn Balor, and you put them on Impact. Impact just becomes 10 times better, just because of those three big names. You put a John Moxley in Impact instead of AEW. Now they're a bigger company. They could be taken more seriously because they have actual stars, and I feel like that's what they're missing. They're missing those big time stars that you can market and put at the front of your poster.
I agree with that. I will say this: in the booking of AEW versus Impact, I'm not going to judge too much because it's in the very, very, very beginning stages. I did say crossovers, Kenny crossing over was going to lead to more. Now we have Private Party. I've seen Jordan Grace comment on Hikaru Shida's shit. So there's a lot of cool stuff that, like I said, I want to see come from this that looks like it may be coming. But if it's going to be an us versus them thing, we need to start clearly drawing the lines, not necessarily right away, but we need to be working towards drawing the lines of who's on what side as these two forces go to war. And that might be what they're working towards by doing the Private Party for the tag team titles, bringing some possibly, women's matches over And they've got a women's tag team championship now.
Yeah.
Tasha Steeles and Kira Hogan are the Impact
Yeah.
Women's Tag Team champions, or Knockouts champions. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, they brought the titles back because they used to
Right.
have them back in the day.
But they have them now. So that's something that AEW doesn't have. They have a lackluster women's division for the most part, or an underutilized women's division. So this could kind of help bolster that women's division and get those women some more time, whether it's on Impact or on AEW Dynamite. There's positives here. They just need to start molding the edges of what this is going to be.
I don't want there to be like AEW guys being on the Impact side too much other than Kenny, because then you run the risk of this turning into the Alliance where it's ECW, WCW, but it's really just WWE versus WWE.
And that's what I'm saying.
Like,
maybe just from like the slighted standpoint, you get like a Rich Swann going over and joining team AEW because Kenny came over here and he got slighted. But generally, I'm thinking what it should be is Kenny and Team Impact versus Team AEW and Tony Khan.
Yeah. It should. I think this should be the story of Kenny and Don Callis, like you're saying, versus Tony Khan and the Bucks. That's where the heart of this should be, and they build their own kind of. Imagine that what it should be. It should be a Survivor Series type build. Team Bucks versus Team Kenny, and you like best team wins.
Exactly. You have your Impact loyalists who are all Impact guys except for Kenny. And then you have your AEW loyalists. Like I said, a slighted Rich Swann, who is champion, who got thrown to the wolves by the owner of his company. I could see him jumping sides just like Kenny did. And one guy I'd be okay with. I don't, like you said, I don't want to see a bunch of AEW guys on the Impact Wrestling side and a bunch of Impact Wrestling guys on the AEW side.
Well, I don't think the Impact guys would be going to the AEW side. My whole thing that I was trying to get to is I don't want too many AEW guys being on the Impact side, because then it feels like AEW versus AEW, and then what's the point? Because that was the issue with the alliances. You had the guys like Kurt Angle and The Rock versus Austin. It's like, really, Austin being on Team WCW?
That
He hated
actually,
WCW.
hold on, that actually wasn't an issue because it wasn't just Team WCW. It was WCW and ECW Alliance. And Austin got his promo abilities from working ECW after being released from WCW. And the person that he had an issue with wasn't the company, it was Eric Bischoff, and Bischoff wasn't running WCW. So I liked getting guys that were former WCW or ECW guys from WWE and bringing them over. It was when you got your Ivories, your Kurt Angles, guys who never, had any significant time, if any time whatsoever, in the other company on Team Alliance. That's where I took an issue. Your Jerichos, your Big Shows, those guys should have been over there, not fucking Kurt Angle, not Ivory, not Test.
Yeah, for sure.
WWE Backstage returns January 30th, the day before the Royal Rumble.
Yes.
Are you excited?
Yeah, because Renee Young's back.
Dude, I actually really enjoyed WWE Backstage. I loved what they did.
So good.
I loved, obviously from Chicago, we love CM Punk. So that was a cool thing. But I loved the interactions between Paige. They had Ember and Xavier on there when they were out hurt. That was really cool. Booker T doing the promo stuff with some celebrities and sports figures. I enjoyed that shit. Also Samoa Joe on there. No, I really enjoyed it, and I'm stoked for it.
Yeah, definitely. It'd be a nice change of pace. I think it's something that's missing, because it was some kind of like cool thing that you could watch on the Tuesday and just really get into like the week of wrestling.
I agree. NBC Sports is shutting down, which means rumor is the NHL games are going to move to Wednesdays on USA, which is going to affect the NXT time slot.
Yeah.
A lot of people are talking NXT should move to Tuesdays. I feel like that's a lot of people that don't want NXT on Wednesday against Dynamite.
Yeah.
That's neither here nor there. If that is the case, do you think that it should just be a either on the network or postponed on game day sort of thing? Or do you want to see NXT get its own dedicated night on, say, a Tuesday where it runs unopposed?
Well, I would say as much like this would be like the male ego in me not wanting to give up, being because I'm an NXT side.
So am I. I'm with you.
I would hate to be the one that has to move nights. But with that being said, I'd rather have them have their dedicated night on on Tuesdays instead of Wednesdays. As much as I love them being on Wednesdays because they've always been on Wednesdays, I'd rather that than them having their like show pushed forward, pushed at a later time slot or a later date or whatever, just because an NHL 8 game. Back in the day, SmackDown. I remember I would watch SmackDown and I had to wait until afterwards for the NHL games to finish or baseball games to finish because they were on UPN. So I really don't want to wait an extra 2 or 3 hours for those games to finish for for us to go ahead and get some wrestling.
Well, now I think they'd either move it to FS1, which they've done.
But that's only because that was SmackDown and they were a Fox show, so they went
That's
to
true. That's
FS1.
true.
The only other way, I don't know. I think
They can put it
USA
on the network.
obviously they could just air it on the network, which is fine and all, but then they go with the whole rating stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe you could do a thing where it stays on USA Wednesday, same time slot, but when there's a game, you move it to Tuesday or
Yeah.
Thursday. I say move it to Tuesday. It's better to be on Tuesday than Thursday because then you're the hot thing everybody's talking about. Everybody's excited about you.
Depending on how this Impact Wrestling thing goes, it may be a competition on Tuesdays as well with this crossover. It's
Yeah.
not solely that would not just be an NXT night. There is an Impact Impact Wrestling crowd.
Yeah.
They do have a fan base. They do have a very adamant and dedicated fan base.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're competing with the crossover appeal of AEW and Impact on Tuesday.
Yeah, but how long will that last though?
We don't know. That's the thing.
We don't know how long that's going to last. They can't run that forever. And then also, too, it's just access and Twitch. USA is a little bit more accessible to the main public. Not too many people have access, and not too many people want to go on Twitch. They just want to turn on their TV and watch some wrestling. So, by convenience standpoint and name standpoint, NXT will still get the leg up over Impact, regardless.
Fair enough.
That's my stance on that.
Last but not least, did you see that video going around of Lacey Evans getting that piece of mail?
No, I did not.
So there's a video going around. I think it's from Lacey's YouTube channel where she receives a letter and a package. And basically, the person that sent her the letter said that they looked all over the place to find the same kind of nylons. I'm going to call them nylons because in wrestling, tights are something different. The same kind of nylons that Lacey wrestles in with the black line up the back. And they finally found them and they mailed them to her and asked her to sign them and then included a stamp and return postage and asked to have it sent back to them autographed. And I believe Lacey's husband is the one filming this and he's not having this whatsoever. Lacey is in character. She calls him a nasty and blah, 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 blah. But to me, this is like basically she's not wearing them. So it's not exactly the same thing, but it's like sending a note to Lacey asking her to sign a pair of used panties and mail them back to you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's that kind of weird fucking thing.
It's weird.
Why do you people think that's okay?
That's weird, man. Just be cool. Why see, man, look, we already as wrestling fans get shit on by the majority public because they look down on us because we still watch something that they think that we don't know is fake. They think it's ridiculous, yet we give them reason to think that we're even more weird and more nerdy and more of like a sore thumb in like the public eye, you know? Just be cool. Stop being weird. And I'm talking mostly to the guys out there because yes, there's a lot of weird girls out there in the wrestling fandom, but that's like maybe like a 1% compared to like the 99% of weird dudes out there.
Here's the thing. I am a huge fucking perv. We talked about it at the beginning of the show, but I do not go on Twitter and act like a perv and tag the wrestlers in my posts to make them uncomfortable. I do not mail them. And most of my perv is in jest. It's not serious. It's me talking shit and trying to be entertaining. Yeah. But I don't go out of my way to do creepy things to make the wrestlers uncomfortable. Don't go out of your way to try and make the wrestlers uncomfortable. Whether that's your intent or not, that's what's happening. So please stop.
Please stop.
If they want to sell shit, if they want to sell used gear or whatever, buy it, sniff it, jerk off into it, do whatever you want to do with it in the privacy of your own home. Don't go on Twitter and tag them to let them know you're fucking doing it.
Yeah.
Do not send them letters, love letters, anime drawings of you getting fucked by them with a tentacle cock, any of that shit. Don't do it. Stop it.
That
Stop
was oddly very specific, Matt.
That's not the point. Let's get into or you just want to go in order? What do you want to do?
Let's go with Raw just because I was only able to watch to a certain point, and I will let you know what I watched.
Okay.
But I watched the entirety of the Randy promo. I think I got up until I was able to watch the Alexis Playground stuff. I can't remember where I stopped watching, but I wasn't able to watch the entire show. So I'd say let's just breeze
So
through.
you saw that Randy Orton is now a luchador.
Yes. Yeah.
How do you feel about that? Cultural appropriation and all?
I don't think he did that because he used a white mask.
Okay.
So he's still like living his white man gimmick. You know, he's still like he's still grabbing some from like Latino stuff. You know,
It literally looks like he just like went to the corner store and found a luchador mask and then grabbed that, bought it, and put it on.
I'm all for it. Look. Underneath, you still have like the makeup or whatever to make
The
it look like
burns,
burn.
the burns.
It was so good. That was such a great promo by Randy Orton. I swear, like this man cannot miss. The wrestler the character is fucking phenomenal. When that man is interested in something, invested, there is not too many people better than him in pro wrestling.
So where I took issue was that he doesn't blame the person who burned him. He blames the person that he set on fire, who is technically, for all intents and purposes, fucking dead. You blame a dead man for the actions of a living person who actually set you on fire. And then he went on to say he wants to win his third Royal Rumble. Or he's going to win his third Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Because the compassion that he had when he chose not to light Alexa Bliss on fire is now gone after she lit him on fire. But it's not her fault. It's a dead guy's fault.
Well, to be fair, Alexa would have never had the powers to throw a fireball at him if it wasn't for the Fiend. So,
are you saying that she hadn't leveled up enough to shoot fire or Ember yet?
I feel like
she was trained by the Fiend.
She was trained by the Fiend up until she was a fairy type before this, maybe a poison type. She didn't learn her fire abilities until she met the Fiend.
So he trained her, she evolved, and now she's a fairy fire type.
Something like that.
Okay.
By the way, is there a fairy fire type out there? I can't.
Not off the top of my head. No.
That's like a. I feel like that should be.
That'll probably be the next new gen starter is a fire fairy type.
I'm sure there's something out there.
Did you saw the Lacey promo?
It was all right. I was in it now.
So basically, Lacey says that everyone's nasty for assuming that there's anything else going on. She's just learning from the dirtiest player in the game how to be dirty, and there's a lot of inlaid sexual innuendo, which I fucking love. While she's denying fucking Ric Flair, she's implying that she's fucking Ric Flair.
I love that.
That
I will say I love. I got to go back and watch it because I usually just tune out Lacey Evans.
Yeah, she's just like, there's nothing going on between Rick and I. I am just learning how to be the dirtiest I can be from the dirtiest player in the game. And our relationship is our business. So, did you see Charlotte versus Peyton?
Some of it.
All right. So Peyton attacks Charlotte during her entrance right off the bat. Mm-hmm. Not happy. This is still that weird Peyton Royce, Lacey Evans are a tag team, but now they're not. But they're involved with a tag team that's not really competing as a tag team. Bullshit. Charlotte gets the win here. During the match, Lacey comes out with Ric Flair wearing Ric Flair's robe. And I said that this is how we have progressed in wrestling. Because in 2001, Lacey would have only been wearing a thong or like a thong bikini underneath Ric's robe. And they would have let you know that. In 2021, she is wearing wrestling gear and ready to go should there be a confrontation for a fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is why I said this is okay. Because they can imply the sexuality. They can even say their sexuality, but they're still sticking to these women are competitors and wrestlers. And when it comes down to it, it's not going to be an evening gown match. It's not going to be a bra and panties match. It's not going to be a gravy bowl match. It's going to be a fucking wrestling match, and they're going to fight.
Yeah.
So yeah, Charlotte gets the win over Peyton. Twitter had a blast with Bobby stomping on Riddle's foot, and not really stomping on Riddle's foot, just stomping on the ground and missing Riddle's foot. I was actually all for it. The more Bobby hurts Matt Riddle for being an idiot and not wearing shoes, the more I like Bobby Lashley. Hashtag Riddle over Riddle.
I will say this: that was one appeal about Matt Riddle that I like was him just like literally just looking like a UFC fighter, just his trunks, no boots, no nothing. It was something unique to him. Outside of it, again, you can ruin your own reputation outside of wrestling as much as you want, but I don't know. Like I'm not into Matt Riddle as much as I was back when he first debuted, but I'm okay with him not wearing any boots. No one said anything to Rusev, so
yeah, but Rusev didn't wear flip flops to the ring and kick him off as part of his gimmick.
I thought that was cool. I'm sorry, like that may be lame, but I thought that shit was cool.
There's nothing cool about Matt Riddle. Ali's promo. So basically, he addresses Kofi. Now, I want to remind everyone that there was a point in time where Ali said that he was not going to stop beating Ricochet until Ricochet joined Retribution, and then he just stopped beating on Ricochet and gave up. Neither here nor there. Now he says he, since he can't hurt Kofi, he is going to hurt everyone that Kofi loves because he blames Kofi for basically taking his spot when he got injured.
Thank you. I'm glad this was finally addressed. I figured this is something that should have been addressed, something that could have been a really good storyline, and you can build up Mustafa Ali. They're doing it now. Look, call me what's the word I'm looking for? Like I'm very like hopeful with Retribution just because I like so many of the guys involved in that faction. I'm very hopeful that they can turn this around and turn it into something. I will die on this fucking hill, man.
Go ahead. You're gonna die alone.
I'm sure there's like one or two people in the world that are for this. Like, man, Mustafa
I think it's sweet that you have hope for a doomed faction. I've been there, so
yeah.
I had hope for the Wyatt family, and there was no success there until they broke up. So
I mean, I was a Breezango guy, and then they slowly turned it around. They became NXT Tag Team Champions. I love Lucha House Party, and they advanced in the Dusty Cup.
We're not there yet.
We will talk about it, but there is hope. There's still hope somewhere, just like there's hope for Aleister Black, even though he didn't show up this week.
After this, Mace defeats Xavier, and then Xavier gets beat down. Again, someone Kofi loves. Alexa's Playground. She has Asuka on Alexa's Playground. I'm not going to count this as a separate talk show because it's just replacing a moment of bliss.
Yeah.
So it counts as a moment of bliss in the meantime. When I said there are too many talk shows, this doesn't count. Basically, Asuka goes to sit on the swing next to Alexa, and she says, no, that seat's taken. During this whole thing, she's talking to what we assume is the Fiend or her invisible friend or an evil demonic spirit, or she's talking to something. Here's the thing. I have seen a lot of people, and it's one of the gripes that I have with the podcast that I really enjoy. Do I really want? It's what we do. All right.
Name drop.
Face Speed Heels High. They shit on Shotzi and they shit on Alexa all the time, and it drives me nuts. And then they put over Matt Riddle. So like, it's really hard for me to listen sometimes because they all are actresses and went to school, so they really deep dive into Alexa's acting, and they don't like it. I think Alexa's fantastic in this role and is killing this role.
Makes sense that she's in this role too.
A lot of people took issue with Asuka being scared, and they're like, well, when she was in Japan, listen, you can't judge who Asuka was in another company and how they booked her towards who she is here. And as a champion who's beat everyone, she needs something to overcome. So by giving her something she's never faced in WWE, because since she was in NXT, since she's been on the main roster, she's never faced a supernatural force like Alexa Bliss.
Mm-hmm.
There, I have no problem with her being a little apprehensive or a little unsure or even a little scared of this thing she's never faced that she doesn't understand, per the story of WWE. And that's
Yeah.
what was going on here. Was she's watching Alexa and she's trying to be excited because she says she's a fan of Alexa and what Alexa does and how she works, which is kind of Asuka's character. Is she loves wrestling, she loves women's wrestling and wrestling women. So she's a fan of these women. You know, she puts over the sexy muscle friends and Charlotte, and she puts over everyone for their talent as wrestlers. So it makes sense that she's a fan of Alexa, but then seeing someone that she's a fan of talk to nobody sitting next to her and rocking chairs going off and all of the weird shit that's happening around her that she doesn't understand, it makes sense to me that Asuka would be apprehensive, a little unsure,
Yeah.
and maybe a little scared.
Yeah. I thought that whole segment was fantastic. I
They
loved
want
it from start to finish.
they want Asuka to be this badass like she was in NXT who just beats down everyone, which is fine. But eventually, someone's got to be there. Something's got to happen. It's going to get old. It got old in NXT. They had to move her up. There's nowhere to move up from the main
Mhm.
roster.
Yeah. There's the only thing you can do on main roster is just take detours with your character.
Um, Alexa's playing kind of spoiled here. Asuka's trying to dance to her music and have some fun, and Alexa stops it. She doesn't want to have it. Asuka says the Fiend. Alexa gets mad that she said the Fiend and Yowie Wowie. Um, yeah, it's she Asuka bails basically after the rocking horse starts going off on
Mhm.
its own. She's like,
Yeah.
"Fuck this!" She gets out of there, and then
As
we'll
you
have
should.
we'll
As
have our
you
main
should.
event, which was actually really good.
I gotta go back and watch it.
Did you see Mandy lose to Shayna?
Yes.
Okay, so you saw that. Shayna and Nia are still arguing and doing their gimmick where they don't get along, but because they don't get along, they do get along.
Mm-hmm.
What I loved here was not only did Dana Brooke look fucking fantastic, and I'm on the Kyle Tyson Dana Brooke train right now. She had a
Mm-hmm.
really nice drop kick into Nia, shoving Nia into Shayna. We find out that Shayna and Nia want their rematch against Charlotte and Asuka that they never got,
Yeah.
and they're
Why not?
both in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah. Yeah. I did like the play, the little back and forth between the Shayna and Nia, where it's like, oh, I'm gonna go ahead and win the Rumble, or like, I don't care if I have to throw you out. You know, it's whatever. It's nothing too crazy, but I like it because in a tag team, regardless of whether or not you want to succeed as a tag team or if you're dysfunctional like these two are, you should want to be open and honest. Like, hey, I'm sorry, I'll throw you out to win this goddamn Royal Rumble. Shawn Michaels didn't give no fucks. He super kicked Triple H and tossed him out the Rumble just to get what he wanted. It's realistic.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so here's where you and me might differ. So Ricochet is talking to Adam Pearce. He wants a spot in the Rumble. Adam Pearce said that just like Drew Gulak, if Ricochet wants in, he's going to have to earn a spot.
Mm-hmm.
He was impressive. Now he's got to earn a spot. And again, the person that he has to earn it against is AJ. And I don't understand this. I don't understand why a guy who's never won the Royal Rumble is the gatekeeper for guys to get into the Royal Rumble. Why you have to beat AJ to get
Yeah.
into a match that he has never won. It's not like the Royal Rumble is AJ's match. It's not like, other than his debut at the Royal Rumble,
Mm-hmm.
there's anything that stands out as far as Royal Rumbles and AJ Styles that you could be like, the Royal Rumble is AJ's match in WWE, or there's a reason why AJ's the guy that is the gatekeeper. Also, you only have a gatekeeper on Raw, not on SmackDown. But neither here nor there.
There's a lot to poke holes in here. I would just say there's two logics here. I'm either going to believe that Adam Pearce is just a major AJ Styles mark and believes he's like the best wrestler in the world, or just like how Savannah feels about AJ and Jericho, or maybe his criteria is you have to have won the Royal Rumble, have a significant record or a great showing in the Royal Rumble, or have an amazing debut at the Royal Rumble. or like return at a Royal Rumble. So like an Edge or a John Cena can go ahead and be gatekeepers, but like what's someone like Bobby Lashley can't be a gatekeeper.
I am going to call this AJ's casting couch though, because that's what it feels like. You got all
AJ's
these up and comers that want to get into the game, and you gotta.
Do you think it's maybe just coincidence?
Maybe it's not. Well, they did it 2 weeks in a row, so I don't know that it's coincidence. They've specifically picked AJ now. Last week, it kind of seemed like AJ just kind of stumbled in, and that's how that happened. But this week, they went back to AJ. So it's like they're now, whether it's because he beat Gulak and kept Gulak out or whatever, now they're using AJ as that measuring stick of if you can beat AJ, you can get into the Rumble. If you can't beat AJ, and they haven't clarified if like you're getting AJ's spot. Like that'd be one thing. Is if these guys are wrestling AJ, and if they win, they get
it's definitely not. It's definitely not that. There's just getting into the Rumble. Period.
But yeah, no, it's AJ's casting couch.
Maybe with Raw, there's just way too many people to go ahead and fill those 15 slots, and on SmackDown, there's less mid carders. There's no 24/7 title picture guys. There's just mid card guys that can just be thrust in there, and there's no line there. Whereas in Raw, maybe there's just too many cooks in the kitchen.
Fair enough. How did you like the dirt sheet? Did you see the dirt sheet?
I did not watch the dirt sheet.
So
I think this is where I stopped watching.
The dirt sheet was supposed to have Goldberg. They did not have Goldberg. They had Gilbert. The returning Dwayne Gill came out with the sparklers and everything. And then while cutting a promo, Drew McIntyre's music hit, and out came what Shotzi McIntyre lovingly dubbed, and I'm going to dogpile on, Drew McInfart, which was that was from that Adam Pearce fuck up when he called Drew McIntyre Drew McInfart about a month or so ago. So we got Gilbert and Drew McInfart out there in a face-to-face. And basically this is all just a thing for the Miz to be like, you guys are going to fight, but in the end, I'm going to cash in and I'm going to walk out champion because I'm the Miz and I'm next.
I will say I need Miz to stop being goofy, because Miz was a legit credible champion back in the day on SmackDown Live when he was running that IC title picture, when he was going head to head with Daniel Bryan, just getting in his face and actually making Daniel Bryan walk off set. Like the Miz can be a credible, legit heel champion, but then they let him do goofy stuff with John Morrison. And that's what turns me off on the Miz being champion and being Money in the Bank right now. I need him to be more of a Seth Rollins type of heel, where he's out here still being a top guy, being credible. Because to me, in my eyes, I feel like he still can be a credible WWE champion because he's great on the mic and he's able. Yeah, you can't do it now, but you can't do all the publicity stuff, all the media. But he's a great guy on the mic. He's a decent worker, and you can't tell me he's not a company guy. I feel like he'd be a solid WWE champion, not a long run, but a decent run. I want to see him as champion again. But stop with the comedy and the goofiness, man.
I don't know. I actually, this is one of the very few dirt sheet segments or any of the stuff they've done with the Miz and Morrison that I've actually enjoyed. Maybe it's the nostalgia of Gilbert and that being a thing from my childhood, the rose color glasses, but I actually really enjoyed this thing that they did. Hurt Business defeats Riddle and Lucha House Party. Cedric and Shelton are fighting. Bobby ends up trying to break it up and catches a kick in the head from Riddle after the match. I don't know if you saw this, but this ended up being a interesting debate that happened again in the Smacked Raw group chat, this time between me and RN. So RN took the side of he's pissed that they're seemingly causing issues and leading to possibly a breakup of the Hurt Business already. He thinks it's too soon. And he said, why can't you let black teams prosper? First the New Day, now the Hurt Business. I argued and only argued that the New Day did prosper. The New Day have prospered. Yeah. They're 10-time tag team champions. You have a former world heavyweight champion in Kofi Kingston. And now that they're kind of broken up, but not really, with Big E on the other side, it looks like Big E's getting that push. I don't disagree with RN on any other points that he made about how black wrestlers have been treated, how very few black champions we've had, so on and so forth, or that it's too early for the Hurt Business. My favorite part of all this was, and this is kind of going to tie into the Black Lives Matter conversation we normally have, but we didn't. I was saving it. It really seemed like me and our end having this debate on Martin Luther King Day and talking about race made everyone in the group, but me and RN, really uncomfortable. Like all of the white people in the group, really, really uncomfortable. Like Reek hopped in and, he joined and it was fine. So me and RN had a separate DM conversation where we were just laughing about how uncomfortable everyone else seemed and
Yeah.
how we have a respect and a relationship to where we can have these conversations.
Yeah.
And it's not anything malicious. It's not anything that's going to be like you're a racist or anything like that. And it was a point that Aaron brought up is, in his eyes, racists aren't the problem. The problem is people not being able to talk the issues out to see an understanding.
Yeah.
And that's what this conversation between me and RN was him making his points, me making my points, and us trying to come to an understanding in the middle of, I get what you're saying, and I understand that you view that the New Day shucks and jives. I don't necessarily agree with that. I know
I don't think
Travis doesn't, and Reek didn't seem to, but I get that point of view because of the trombone and a lot of the tropes and things. I do feel like that's a lot more of the New Day's personality coming out than it is them doing like what R-Truth does.
I would say shucking and jiving fits more into when Lucha House Party came out with piñatas and matracas and just going ahead and filling out stereotypes. That's more shucking and jiving as opposed to what New Day do, where the trombone, that was Wood's idea. Them being all colorful and being goofy, that's who they are. If you watch the New Day, listen to the New Day's podcast, if you watch Up, Up, Down, Down, that's genuinely who they are. That's why they resonate so well on TV. I will say, I don't know where this Cedric stuff is going with the Hurt Business. I hope it doesn't lead to a breakup at any point, because as much as I like Cedric, he needs the Hurt Business. I don't think he's good enough on his own without the Hurt Business to make it even to like an IC title picture by himself. I think that he definitely needs the Hurt Business. I don't want the Hurt Business to end. I genuinely like them as a faction. I actually think they should add someone like a Naomi. Cough, cough, wink, wink, jab, jab. Come on, Naomi, join the Hurt Business. I think they should add members and not break up and get rid of members.
And I agree with that. It's definitely way too soon. And that was RN's kind of main point. I just told him, I'm like, I agree with everything you're saying except for the New Day. I really do feel like the New Day.
No, New Day did everything you could do.
Yeah.
They literally did everything you could possibly do. The only reason why they wanted to break them up is because they wanted to give Big E this singles run that he's having now. And they never broke up. They just are on different shows. They've said it from day one. New Day will be represented on Raw by Woods and Kofi. And Big E's going to be representing New Day over on SmackDown.
But Big E did get a new separate non-New Day theme song. So now my question for you is that a sign of them separating Big E from the New Day? And if that's the case, do the New Day need a new version of their song without Big E in the intro?
No. I say you keep it as is. That's not an issue whatsoever. For the most part, it's kind of like AJ when he came out to his own theme song and not like the club theme song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's like he has now his own distinction as a singles guy. Something that makes him stand out and makes him his own guy.
And mind
you, that makes any sense.
Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns, none of them won a world heavyweight title while they were in the Shield. It was only after the Shield had done everything the Shield could do and broke up that they got to move on to that next level. And that was a point I was trying to make to RN. But RN makes great points about how black people are used, valued, and treated in professional wrestling over the years, and that there is a history there. And that is a very good point. So my PSA real quick is, white people, don't be afraid to have conversations because you're afraid that someone's going to call you a racist, because you're not going to gain an understanding, a new perspective, or learn anything if you're afraid to talk, because you're afraid that your viewpoint is going to get you labeled a certain way. Understand that it may, and if you are, that you need to pay attention to what's being told you as to why it's problematic, and really look at that and try to understand why it's problematic. But don't be afraid to have conversations.
Yeah. And it doesn't make you a bad person. You can have a problematic point of view or stance on something and not see someone else's perspective, then have this conversation with someone and realize, oh, I shouldn't be thinking this way. Oh, I shouldn't be saying this. Or I should, or X, Y, or Z. And just FYI, it's gonna be uncomfortable because you don't know what their perspective is like. This is uncomfortable because you are gonna be afraid that you're gonna be labeled a racist. But guess what? That comes with the territory. That's what we need. We need conversation. Don't be afraid. It's gonna be uncomfortable. Just go ahead
That's
and do it.
how you gain perspective.
Perfect. Exactly.
Alexa versus Asuka was our main event. Alexa Bliss beats Asuka with the sister Abigail. So this is why I love this match. A lot of people criticize the Fiend for not working a different wrestling style than Bray Wyatt. That whether he's Bray Wyatt, with the Fireflies, the Swamp version of Bray Wyatt, or it's Firefly Funhouse Bray Wyatt, or it's the Fiend. In ring, it's always the same thing. He's the same person, just in different clothes.
That's something that people have criticized Finn Balor and the Demon. What separates Finn Balor and the Demon other than the face paint?
The Demon always wins.
Well, at least with NXT, they never try to make it some mythical thing. They always oh, this is just his he does this shit for big shows type.
Yeah, it's his next level. It's like going KO Ken.
Yeah, for sure. But the style was nothing changed. Nothing was different.
Well, nothing changes with KO Ken. It's just a power up.
True.
That's what I'm saying. It's going KO Ken.
Yeah.
So here, Alexa's in a pink shirt, regular look. She's wrestling Asuka, and she's doing a lot of cutesy dodges and sitting and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And then at some point during the match, the lights go out and the Fiend's face, they do the little thing. And then when we come back, she has black lipstick on. She's now wearing a black shirt. And it is a much more aggressive Alexa Bliss who's really laying in her hits.
Yes.
This was really cool.
And it's something you've seen in the past with Alexa where she's having a match, then the Fiend stuff go off and then she just snaps and just turns into this different Alexa.
And works a different...
Perfect. It's fucking perfect. You're trying to if this was Alexa Bliss 6 months ago, prior to being engaged with the Fiend in any kind of sort of way, I would be upset that she beat an Asuka, the Raw Women's Champion, so easily towards the end. But this is a completely different Alexa Bliss. You trying to tell me that you'd be upset if an Undertaker squashed the Drew McIntyre?
No.
Exactly. They're supposed to have mythical powers for a goddamn reason. This is wrestling. You guys want some story stuff. You want some realistic stuff. Dude, this is cool. Just take cool stuff and just.
A lot of people took an issue with it. Blah blah blah. I thought it was fucking fantastic. That was Monday Night Raw. Vince, spit or swallow.
I'm gonna gargle undecidedly until I finish watching the entire show. I stopped watching right before the dirt sheet segment. So I'm gonna go ahead and say it's a gargle undecidedly until I watch the show. But based on what you're telling me, it wasn't a bad Raw.
No, the Alexa stuff really sold me, and the Randy stuff really sold me. So I'm gonna swallow based on that alone. The main event, the Alexa's Playground, and then the Randy opening. Those three things right there really did it for me. And Ricochet and AJ tore it down in their match. So
the spot to finish to lead into the Styles Clash was amazing.
Yeah. Where do you want to go next? NXT, AEW, or Raw, SmackDown?
Let's go NXT.
All right. We kick it off. Dusty Classic. The Way loses to Ruff and Kushida. And I saw a lot of people confused and upset here. I know RN was one of them. I listened to the NXT recap. Here's my thing about this. If The Way wasn't going to win the Dusty Classic, which they weren't, obviously, it doesn't matter what round they go out in, because this is what RN didn't like. This is just a vehicle for them to get to Kushida versus Johnny Gargano for the North American title. So them losing here, they're probably going to cost Kushida and Leon Ruff in the next round or the semifinals or the finals even.
Yeah.
Leading to that match. So I've got no issue with The Way losing because they're a brand new tag team. It's not like
They're not a
Austin
tag
Theory,
team. They've
yeah,
never. I don't. They've maybe had one tag team match together. But here's the thing: at least with Leon Ruff and Kushida, I could, in my mind, picture them trying to work out a strategy or a plan. With the way it was, probably just trying to go. Kind of was like, do X, Y, and Z. Like just try to be bossing around. There was actual no teamwork there.
yeah.
No, like kind of like you and me. We sometimes do podcasts together. We're barely getting our like hang of things as a new dynamic as two co-hosts on the show. And I feel like that's what Kushida and Leon Ruff were. For all we know, maybe they teams like some
We
indie
have great
matches,
chemistry though.
but they had natural chemistry. They're
Yeah,
good.
we have
That's
natural
something.
chemistry.
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes it just clicks, man.
No, I had no problem with this because they're telling a story, and I understand not
That's where
wanting
it's
to
going.
use the Dusty Classic to tell a story, but not, I mean, not every, especially two teams that aren't going to win. What does it matter if they're using it to tell a different story or
They
not?
used the Dusty Classic to push one of the bigger stories in NXT history by having Roderick Strong screw over Pete Dunne and join Undisputed Era officially.
There you go.
They've used the very first Dusty Classic to set up Samoa Joe versus Finn Balor, the two tag team that won the goddamn thing.
Yep.
All right, come on, man. Come on. They use the Dusty Classic to set up storylines every year. Why are you acting new to this? Jesus.
We had Malcolm Bivens backstage waiting outside Regal's office. He said that him and Tyler Rust are going to propose something to William Regal. Rust comes out of Regal's office, says, "Hey, man, sorry I got here early. I was really excited." And Regal gave me the match. I'm going to be taking on Bronson Reed. And Malcolm Bivens like, "Hey, that wasn't really what I had in mind, but okay, we'll figure this out."
Yeah, I don't like Rust at all, man.
You're not
I
feeling
like
Tyler
Michael.
Rust?
No, I'm not feeling Tyler Rust.
You don't like NXT Jungle Boy?
NXT Jungle. I don't like regular Jungle Boy.
Oh.
I don't like regular Jungle Boy. Michael Bivens though, that man can talk. That man has charisma. There's something about him that should be on the main roster right now, managing somebody.
Like maybe a Cesaro, but we'll get into that.
Ooh, yes.
Karrion Kross and the pagan fertility goddess that is Scarlet come to life. Defeats Ashanti Adonis. Ashanti gets hurt here, and as Desmond Troy, his tag team partner in the Dusty Rhodes Classic, is checking on him, Desmond gets caught in the cross jacket and choked out. Both men are going to be unable to compete. We're unable to compete, and we're replaced tonight by Timothy Thatcher and Tommaso Ciampa. I did not watch that match yet. I only watched 205 Lives.
You haven't watched the Fight Pit?
No, I watched the Fight Pit.
Oh,
I didn't watch so on 205 Live, they had two Dusty Classic matches.
Oh, really?
They had a women's match and a men's match. The main event was Thatcher and Ciampa as a team taking on whoever Ashanti Adonis and Desmond Troy were supposed to face. Oh, it's RN's boyfriend Tony Nese and Davari.
Oh, well, they were gonna lose in the first round anyway.
More than likely, but I have not watched that main event yet. So the main event of 205 Live is Thatcher and Ciampa versus Nese
That's Thatcher
and Davari. And then the women's Dusty Classic match is the new signees of Cora Jade and Gigi. Oh, I can't remember what the fuck she went by.
AKA Elena Black and Priscilla Kelly.
Yes.
Two women that I've got a chance to meet. They're really dope wrestlers. I'm glad to see them shine and succeed, be in this Dusty Cup, just like MSK. I've got to meet all four of those competitors. That's what I love about NXT so much. Maybe this is why I'm more of an NXT guy than AEW guy. There's more guys that I've actually got to meet and see wrestle in person and get a vibe for, and I want to see them. I was there at Shotzi's final match here in Chicago at the Berwyn Eagles Club for Rise Women's Wrestling.
Oh, she's so great.
She had so instead of like doing like the
I would have bought her poop.
Instead of doing the streamers, they had like little green balls that tossed into the crowd, and I still have it somewhere if I can find it. if I can,
Vince, it's not creepy if she's selling it. Like it's creepy to ask for it if she's not, but if she's giving it
yeah,
away, like.
I just would rather not talk about other people's poop on the show.
So Elena Black and Priscilla Kelly, who are Gigi something and Cora Jade, took on Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae in the opening match of 205 Live tonight.
Yeah.
I watched that. I will say this: I'm not going to spoil anything for you. Go watch the match because I know you're a fan of theirs.
Yes, yes.
Their music reminds me a lot. They're the team of Cora Jade and Gigi. Reminded me a lot of the Sweet Dreams remix that Marilyn Manson did. And it was really cool. I actually really enjoyed it, but it sounded very close to that, in my opinion.
Okay, for sure. I'll go ahead and watch it. Hey, you know what? I will say this. I like that they're using 205 Live as their AEW Dark.
It's the only reason I watched 205 Live. Like they said, oh, we're gonna have Dusty matches, and I'm like, fuck you guys. Okay, you got me. Now
I
I'm gonna
just
go
heard
watch
about that today, and I
Yes.
only knew about the women's Dusty match, and that makes sense. Why not have women on 205 Live? They're under 205, and a lot of the NXT roster is under 205. Use 205 Live to further get people some exposure, like leading into the whole stuff with Legado and Fantasma, which I'm sure we're gonna get to. I don't know if that's next or not, but Legado had their running with Lucha House Party, and then the dude from 205 Live that's an upstart just randomly show up. I ain't had no idea who he was, but apparently he's a big name over there.
Legado del Fantasma's way down the line. What's next is the Tony and Mercedes promo, which to me did not hit. Mercedes is an imposing looking woman, a violent woman. I have not seen much of her when it comes to promos. And I've got to be honest, as much as I love Tony Storm and all of her assets, I don't feel like she's comfortable as a heel. This was definitely like the most generic heel promo, you know, straight out of like a video game reciting line sort of generic heel promo. I wasn't feeling it. She's got to find that comfortability.
Yeah,
there we
go.
In being a heel and really get into it. This did not do it for me.
I will say that ever since Mercedes Martinez was brought in, whether it was aligned with Robert Stone or right now as her own, I don't like this like gothic like look she's got going on, like with like the dark tones and everything. I want her to go back to the Mercedes Martinez we saw in the Mae Young Classic, where she was like the Latina sensation, and she's out here coming now to some reggaeton ass fucking music and just calling everybody mamita and shit. Like, no mamita, you about to get this ass whooping type of shit. I want her to be a fucking badass. I want her to be a chola, basically. Come out here and be a badass that she is. That's who she is. That's who she's always been. I want her to go back to that. Basically be like what LAX are over on Impact Wrestling, or what they were trying to do with Camacho and Unico back in the day. Like,
but again, this is white folks trying to write for characters that they don't know how to write for.
If this is Mercedes' idea, okay, cool, I'll give it a shot. You know, I'll go ahead and say it. But I feel like Mercedes Martinez feels more like the Latino sensation. She needs to come out with her reggaeton music, still be a badass in the goddamn ring, and just call everybody mamita.
Either way, I'm terrified of her, and I feel like she pegs people. I've had that discussion with Jizzy over on the Deadass Girls.
Ask Benji. I think he's met her before, so he might have.
He would know.
He would know.
He might have been pegged.
He would
Benji, if you're listening, hit me up. I need to know. Lucha House Party defeats Imperium after the match. After your boys, the Lucha House Party, advance in the Dusty Classic. Alexander Wolf appears on the stage and seems to be coming to get Eichner and Bartel in formation and straighten them up.
Yeah, he seemed to be very upset and disappointed with them. Are you surprised that Lucha House Party advanced over Imperium?
I am, especially because Lucha House Party lost that match on Raw, but they beat
Raw.
Well, hold on, but they beat former. They didn't? I don't think they held the tag team champions, but they beat a prominent team from NXT UK.
I think they were saying that they were NXT champions.
I don't think they were.
Let me look that up.
Look it up. While you're looking that up, we have the weigh-in for Ciampa and Thatcher. Thatcher's like 20 pounds heavier than Ciampa or some shit like that. And then Thatcher shoves Ciampa during the weigh-in. and then I'm gonna wait because this was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna wait till you find. I'm pretty sure it's just been Gallus and Grizzled Young Veterans that have been tag team champions.
No,
Oh,
so
and Mark Webster and
no. So in the faction itself, Walter's been NXT UK champion and NXT tag team champions one time, Bartel and Eichner. They have not been
okay,
UK champions. So they are former champions.
NXT champions.
Yeah, former NXT champions, not UK champions.
Okay, I didn't think they were UK champions, but yeah, no. I mean, Lucha House Party went over former NXT champions, which I mean, that's what this whole thing's about. So
Yeah. I think it's look, man, they're dope wrestlers. They're dope. They're really good wrestlers. All three members of Lucha's House Party.
Here's my issue. I think I prefer Lince Dorado. Grand Metalik's aesthetic doesn't do it for me. The bodysuit and everything, as dope as he can be in the ring, I don't like his look.
I don't like the ones where he goes too colorful. Like when he's busted out the darker toned ones with like hints of color and hints of gold. I think those are really nice. Or like the all red one with the gold that he was using in the Cruiserweight Classic are good. It's just the ones where there's just too much color in there.
I can see that.
Yeah.
We kick off the Women's Dusty Classic with Beth Phoenix, who returned live on NXT as a commentator and to do this. And there's this great promo video of the Women's Evolution through NXT, former NXT Women's Champions, and the people that have paved the way to get us here to the first ever Dusty Women's Classic. Now, I will say, they did not mention that the winner of the Dusty Classic for the women get a title shot. And I did pay very close attention on 205 Live tonight. The commentators said the men win the cup and a title shot. And all they said was the winner of the women's championship will be the winner, or the winner of the women's classic will be the winner of the cup. They did not say they get a title shot. And I think that's a waste.
It would be cool if after they win, the women's tag champions, whoever they may be at the time, show up at NXT and challenge them. We want to take on the one of the best tag teams that won this Dusty Cup.
I agree. I will say Team American Ninja, because we decided that Team Ninja might be offensive, so we went Team American Ninja last week. Defeated Team Killer Cake. That is what I am dubbing Mercedes and Tony, because Tony is the cake and Mercedes is the killer.
Yeah.
Team Killer Cake. Because EO takes out Mercedes, distracting Tony Storm. How did you feel about Casey Catanzaro's move that she did at the end of the match? Because people think it was a botch.
I don't
know if it was a botch.
I think she just like rotated a little bit too much, but I think she was supposed to land on her back onto Tony Storm.
Well, if she rotated too much, then it technically is a botch. She did not execute the move properly.
So I think that was the intended results.
Okay.
It was supposed to be that. It's just like the landing wasn't as crisp as it needed to be.
Because I don't know what the fuck that was. She flipped every which way, did a figure eight and shit. She climbed inside her asshole and then back out the other end before she hit. It was insane. Yeah. It looked really cool until like the end, the way she landed, which I believe was kind of like on her knee onto Tony Storm.
No, her back hit Tony Storm.
No, it's like her knee hit Tony Storm, and then she kind of took a flat back off of Tony, and then went into the pin.
Maybe I need to go watch it again, but
that's
regardless, it was cool. I don't
care. Regal says that Finn needs a partner. So I was confused here. For whatever reason, I thought this was Finn Balor trying to get into the Dusty Classic.
No.
But this is to face the tag team champions, correct?
Yeah, so basically he was saying like, look, I want Pete Dunne, but he's playing my kind of game. I know what he's trying to do. I'm going to take out everyone around him to get to him. I'm going to cut off the head, the body of the snake before I go after the head. And he wanted Lorcan and Birch, but him and Regal are basically like, I need a partner here. And he's like, that's okay. I know someone. I got a couple guys that owe me some favors.
Well, no. So Regal said you can't face Lorcan and Birch. You need a partner. And Finn's like, I don't have any friends. And Regal says, well, maybe you should keep your enemies closer. And he's like, all right. Like you said, I know a couple people that owe me a favor. Oh, we'll jump to it. Finn calling in favors goes and asks Kyle O'Reilly to join him, and that's why I was like, oh shit, because that's what I thought it was he was getting into the Dusty Classic because Ashanti Adonis, and Desmond Troy were out, and then his plan was to win the Dusty Classic to get to these guys. I thought that's what they were doing. So it's like, oh shit, now it's Kyle O'Reilly and Finn Balor, and they might meet up with Undisputed Era, and the winner of that's going to advance in this Dusty Classic. That's interesting, but that's not the case because obviously it was Thatcher and Ciampa that took that spot. So this is just for a match. This wasn't them getting in the Dusty Classic.
Yeah, him just basically trying to get rid of Lorcan and Birch so he can go after Pete Dunne by himself.
When they have a mutual enemy because Kyle O'Reilly also got attacked by these guys, and Undisputed Era is that issue. So,
do you think they're gonna do Pete Dunne versus Finn first, or do you think they're gonna go straight into a triple threat with Kyle O'Reilly, Pete Dunne, and Finn Balor? Then they're gonna branch off into the Pete Dunne Finn Balor singles match afterwards.
I think what we'll probably get is the tag team match: Birch and Lorcan versus Dunne and Balor and O'Reilly, and then I think we're gonna get another Dunne versus O'Reilly match before we get Balor versus Dunne.
You don't think they're gonna like sprinkle in a triple threat match at some
point? I
point?
don't. Finn's beat Kyle twice. One time he came out with a broken jaw, but he's won twice. I don't. As much as I like Kyle, I don't see the point in putting him in this again or having him be involved beyond this. I think it's time to move on. I actually want to see Pete Dunne beat Finn Balor and be NXT champion, but I have a very, very good feeling that Finn's going to hold that title until Cross takes it off him.
Unfortunately,
yeah.
I stopped caring about Killer Cross.
I can't. Scarlett's got me, man. And the entrance, like the aesthetic is there. I kind of like him being dominant and smashing people. It didn't work with Keith Lee, but it works in what they've been doing, at least in my opinion, so far.
I don't know, man. I just haven't felt it. Like it was cool at first, but ever since his return, it's just like, okay, this is boring. He feels like Jiren. Like, yeah, he's OP and all, but okay, what is it? What's your story here? Like, you're a boring character. He's like literally the most boring villain NXT has ever made. Made.
That might not be true because now we got Tyler Rust losing to Bronson Reed.
He's not on the same level.
Tyler Rust lost to Bronson Reed. Nothing really there.
Yeah.
We see Io and Tony brawling backstage as the ref pulls them apart during this match. Then we got Santos. So your promo from Mr. Escobar.
Yes.
He's calling himself the champion of champions. He's taking shots at Finn Balor. He's taking shots at Karrion Kross for getting injured. He's taking shots at Gargano for, having to break the streak or the curse. Lucha House Party comes down and attacks. And I got really excited because I thought this is where Kalisto was going to come back and that we were going to get Kalisto versus Escobar. And I am so down for Kalisto versus Escobar. Unfortunately, I haven't been paying attention or watching 205 Live. So some dude named Kurt Stallion that I know almost nothing about showed up. And I'm like, you don't fit in this scenario.
Yeah, no, I was completely like, who the fuck is this guy? And commentary was trying to sell him like, oh, that's this guy from 205 Live. And it's like, oh, okay. I knew Kalisto wasn't going to show up. They had a whole falling out. Kalisto turned heel, basically.
Yeah, but now they're down on NXT and none of that matters.
But isn't this the whole thing? Is like, oh, they just like lost over on Raw, but here they are being the NXT Tag Team Champions. But you're using the counter argument to say that main roster logic never.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we've had enough time away from the breakup to where Kalisto could come back and reconcile if the goal is to get 3v3 Lucha House Party versus Legado del Fantasma match, and maybe even Kalisto versus, like, there's enough time away that their breakup doesn't matter anymore. They can come back together. Whereas what I'm saying is losing a tag team match on main roster to nobody, well, not really nobody, it was the Hurt Business, but to like a feuding Hurt Business while teaming with Matt Riddle, which makes no fucking sense, doesn't make you look the best going into a classic against former tag team champions. So it's surprising that you get the win over these guys when you just lost up there to those guys.
Yeah, but there's always storytelling. Obviously, the reason Imperium needed to lose here so they can tell whatever story they're going to tell with Alexander Wolf and hopefully a returning Walter. And then obviously Lucha House Party is slowly moving up because I think they're going to be facing Legado del Fantasma in the next round. And I think they're matched up against each other in the bracket, which goes into what this story is, which is gonna go into Kurt Stallion and Santos Escobar. So it's gonna lead into a 6-man tag. So at least with NXT, it makes sense of why these losses are taking place, or why these victories are happening. So,
all right. Fight Pit.
it was such a good match.
Such a good match.
Such a fucking good match. It was perfect.
If you haven't seen it, go watch it. Both the fight pits are fantastic. Thatcher, undefeated in the fight pits, clearly
now he can say he's undefeated in the fight pit.
Earned the affection of Tommaso Ciampa because the sexual tension at the end as they gazed into each other's eyes, as I put it, and RN actually agreed with me, just palpable in that ring at the end of this match.
Yeah.
Sometimes two guys have to really go in there and rough each other up and bring each other to the brink to appreciate the relationship that's there. And that's what we got between these two guys.
Yeah, for sure. I liked it. I thought it was really good. And it makes sense. Now they're in the Dusty Cup. They're going to be in the finals against Undisputed Era. Most likely.
Oh, you think so?
I think that's where this is going.
Okay.
Unless they're going to get their first match. And maybe in the second round, they lose because setting up a third rubber match between these two.
Possibly.
It's the only two venues they can take.
They beat the shit out of each other, though. I mean,
yeah, they did.
You didn't get a knocked out tooth. You didn't get anyone busted and bloody, but I mean, they brawled.
The finish was so unique. The stretch muffler, like whatever the fuck it's called.
Ciampa's like, I actually didn't think he was going to tap. I was really surprised when he tapped.
Me too. I thought when he hit the fairy tale ending leading into the rear naked choke, I'm like, really? They're gonna have Thatcher tap out to Ciampa, and he found
I was okay
a
with
way.
that.
I was not. I've never seen Ciampa hit a single submission except for that Fujiwara armbar they was hitting once upon a time.
Just because you haven't seen him hit a submission doesn't mean that throwing on a submission after hitting his finisher isn't a viable way to win a match.
No, I'm not saying it's not a viable way to win a match. I just thought I just would have said it was a bullshit way to finish that match.
As opposed to having one leg locked in the cage and the other locked in a stretch muffler and tapping out to a move that is not Timothy Thatcher's finisher, nor did Timothy Thatcher hit his finisher before applying it.
It's a very unique way to finish a match that would only come up in a fight pit. In a very specific scenario, I will allow this.
Okay.
When is he ever going to be able to apply that? Never. Only in the fight pit. Exactly. Only in the cage match. Only specific scenarios. Ciampa can hit a rear naked choke in any single match. If that was a submission that he constantly used, then okay, cool. I can see him going to that. It was kind of like when
War Games.
War Games? What do you mean?
Hell in a Cell, cage match, War Games. Basically anything with the cage, he can apply that move.
Yeah, exactly. So you bust that out for special occasions.
Okay.
Let's go watch that match.
NXT Spit or Swallow.
Fight Pit alone was swallow worthy, man. Fight Pit alone was worthy.
I'm with you on that. Plus, neither Dexter Loomis nor Shotzi Blackheart were on the show, which is a downgrade for me. But they didn't get screwed over and cheated like they did last week. So I'm going to swallow as well because they were safe this week.
Cool.
AEW? Yeah, let's do AEW. So I'm going to be honest with you. I kind of wish you would hit me up before you watched AEW because I would have told you just go watch your 23-minute YouTube video. It really wasn't worth watching. A lot of people that said that they were AEW fans said like this wasn't the best. So what I think I'm going to try and do to kind of bring down the time, because even now, like we had a lot of talk in the very beginning about news and rumors, which we don't normally do, but to get some more in-depth like discussion like that, because I think that's good. I think I'm going to.
You want me to start playing this song so you can breeze through AEW?
No. I think I'm going to condense the talking points. Like we're not going to going forward. Maybe we won't talk about every single match on Raw or NXT, SmackDown. We'll talk about the big shit that we both want to talk about. So going forward, as you're taking your notes and everything, just the shit that really sticks out to you that you want to talk about, put down on that. And then I'll do the same. and then we'll cover those topics, and some of the other shit like Tyler Russ versus Bronson Reed, we won't even bring up.
Yeah. Perfect.
So.
Okay. I will say that as much as I like what they're doing for -1 Brody Jr. and all, it's just I like just get the kid off TV. Like, no offense, it's just
See,
I
I
didn't think
don't take the Dark Order seriously, so him being there, I don't care.
I want to take the Dark Order seriously.
I don't give a shit. Now that Brody's gone, there's nobody in the Dark Order I give a shit about. To me, they have always been comedy acts. Everyone in there, Uno and Grayson came in and they came off like comedy acts from the get-go.
Yeah.
Reynolds and Silver are definitely comedy acts. 10 does nothing for me. Colt Cabana,
He's
Chicagoan,
always been a comedy.
I love, always been comedy. The only person I take serious out of Dark Order is Anna Jay. Anna Jay. Like
Tay Conti too, but she's
not technically part.
But she should be.
She should be. Or Anna Jay should just leave the Dark Order and form a tag team with Tay Conti. Neither here nor there. I actually enjoy it, especially because they're doing it with guys like Serpentico and Luther, who again I also don't take seriously. So no one's getting hurt here.
Yeah, no, it's like there's no reason for me to care, you know.
But we did have this match. TH2 joins the Chaos Project to take on Colt Cabana, Hangman, and Reynolds and fucking Silver. Obviously, Dark Order gets the win here. The whole thing here is, will Hangman join the Dark Order? And he says no.
He says no, but I did like how they busted out the banner saying he said yes, and they treated like it was a fucking proposal. That I did enjoy. The stuff before the match, and
they had the guys come out of the tunnel and they had to rush them back in. And no.
Hangman's dive to come in for the save at the start was fantastic.
This is why I don't want Hangman in the Dark Order, because when he got tagged in and he started going like spine busters, this guy's a fucking star. Like, if I could draft one person and only one person from AEW and take them to NXT, it's fucking Hangman, and he's a main eventer. He's fucking NXT champion.
That's my pick.
I know that's your pick, but I'm telling you right now, I'm taking Hangman all day. Hangman versus Balor, Hangman versus Ciampa, Hangman versus Gargano, Hangman versus Dunn. Fucking money every time.
Honestly, I was on the board and on the train of Hangman should sign with NXT. I genuinely thought he should have signed with NXT.
And I still do.
Here's the thing. As much as you like AEW, and as much as, yes, I'm an NXT fanboy, call me what, or Stan, whatever the mark, whatever you want to call me, NXT would push this motherfucker to the NXT title picture sooner and get the title on him faster than AEW would put the AEW title on Hangman.
I was confused as to who you were talking to when you said that, because you said as much as you like AEW, and I'm like, I'm basically in the same boat as you.
No, I meant like AEW fans in general. As much as you made,
he's talking to the listeners, not me.
Yes. Should have clarified that. I was breaking the fourth wall.
Hey, Hangman,
how you doing?
Much better off in NXT. I agree.
Yeah.
Sure. I actually enjoyed this. I even enjoyed the end where Luther got hit with the kendo stick, and then -1 yelled at everyone and said, "My birthday was 3 days ago, you idiots!" And it was fun. I enjoy them doing nice things for Brody's family after them losing Brody, and I'm not going to knock them for that.
No.
Let's see. The Bucks visit Kenny's house. Did you see this?
Yeah, I saw the entire show except for the main event.
Okay, so the Bucks visit Kenny's house. Don's there, said Kenny couldn't make it. They've got Nakazawa as a butler.
Nakazawa should definitely join the ranks in there. As be like the stooge, the J&J security to Kenny Omega.
J&J security, it was Vincent to the $1 Million McMahon, or Virgil to Hulk Hogan in the NWO. Yeah, no, I'm with you on that.
I think you have it the other way around. Virgil was with $1 Million Man and Vincent was with
NWO. I had that backwards. Yeah, you had that backwards. So Don Callis there's like a big painting of Don and Kenny where they're shirtless and jeans and they're all jacked.
Yeah.
Basically what goes on here is Don Callis tries to cut the Young Bucks a check for 12 years of friendship. And the Bucks are like, listen, we made this much money last week. And he's like, that's right, your merch guys. And he tries to add some money. And then my favorite thing is we worked for that company you worked for. These checks are probably going to bounce. We know they're no good. And they tear up the checks.
Yeah.
Alex Marvez was there. Nakazawa was supposed to take him to the dungeon. And then he's like, oh, no, it's just like the wrestling room, like the dungeon. Take the cameraman with you. They leave the cameraman to watch this. The Bucks put hands on Don Callis. He's yelling as they kind of go off camera. Later on in the night, Kenny comes in to find Don Callis. He's got marks all over his face. He's like, I don't want to cause issues, this and that, but he kind of spills the beans that the Bucks roughed him up. And then as the interviewer comes in, he's like, what are you doing in here? Get out of here. Almost as if it wasn't the Bucks and he was worried that, whatever manipulation he's trying to play was going to get exposed.
Because it did really, to me, I kind of made it, to me, it felt like he wanted to give the impression that the Bucks roughed him up when in reality he just had makeup on.
I agree.
And bring more of a rift between Kenny and the Bucks.
But the Good Brothers are here. They've got Kenny's back. Kenny's on a warpath and ends up taking out your boy Penta. Like destroys him backstage.
I was pissed. They need to do more. They need to do right by Penta, man. He should be in the world title picture. Bring him to NXT.
I agree with that. We got an announcement: Darby and Sting next week versus Team Taz in a street fight. Or not next week.
Next week, Revolution.
Yeah, Revolution in a street fight. So we are going to get Sting in the ring, not in the ring, in a street fight, but he is going to compete.
No, he should not be competing anymore, man. I say that with guys like Goldberg. I say that with guys like Undertaker. I'll say that with Sting. This time I'm not hating on AEW as much as like any other people out there may think I'm an AEW hater. I'm not. I just don't think this man should be wrestling in 2021. He shouldn't have been wrestling in 2016. But that's neither here nor there. I don't think this should be happening whatsoever.
We had Cody defeat Peter Avalon in a match that went way too long.
It went way too long, and the finish was trash, man. Like, really? Like, you tapped out because you were afraid the dude was gonna slap you in the face, dude? What the? I'm sorry. That whole match was like,
no, it was terrible. And Peter Avalon,
trash.
I don't care if Jade Cargill came out, if Peter Avalon hit the low blow, which by the way, Cody barely sold that low blow. He got up way too quick. After Cody got up from that low blow and started going in on Peter Avalon, that should have been the end of the match. Peter Avalon should not have got that much offense on Cody Rhodes.
It's one of those things where you kind of get some knock on WWE for like, oh, why did he squash so-and-so so quickly? It's like, dude, AEW has competitive matches with everybody. Like, Cody Rhodes should not be going toe-to-toe with Peter Avalon. Cody Rhodes should be able to squash him in like 2 minutes.
Yeah, but this isn't like Brock versus Kofi. This is like fucking this would be like we'll say Cody Rhodes in AEW is an equivalent to Randy Orton versus Santino Marella. Like Santino
he should be
should not be having a competitive match with Randy Orton.
Exactly. And I don't think WWE ever puts themselves in a situation like that. I feel like power levels like that usually go ahead and go play how they should be played out, like a Santino versus Randy. This should have ended in like 3 minutes. 4
I agree.
times.
Top Flight and Seidel lose to Hardy Party in a shit show of a match. This is, don't get me wrong, Top Flight and Private Party are still two young teams, and I will agree again with Kenny from Kenny for Your Thoughts. I feel like this was kind of one of those, they were just on TV trying to get their shit in, kind of nervous sort of deals. And the veterans weren't able to control the chaos, but this is also a criticism of what you get from AEW. The only way they're going to get better is by giving them TV time, but you can't give them all of this freedom because this looked terrible.
Yeah, it does. It just kind of seemed like they were doing spots just to do spots.
Penelope Ford defeats Layla Hirsch, and then after the match, Miro. I love Miro for this because we didn't get Chuck Taylor in a tuxedo thong and a leash like I wanted, but he was out there in a tuxedo, and he had to look Orange Cassidy in the face and tell him that Miro is his best friend. Charles had to look Orange Cassidy in the face and tell him that Miro is his best friend. And poor Orange Cassidy looks so heartbroken.
Miro is so much bigger than what they're doing with him right now, man. Like, this man should be in the TNT title picture. This man oozes charisma. I freaking love Miro, man. He's Get him
TNT
away.
title picture or the AEW title picture. Like
Yeah,
competing against John Moxley, competing against more prominent names than what he's doing right now.
for sure.
And then last but not least, we had the Inner Circle match that this was again another fucking mess. I actually fast forwarded through most of this because I honestly I wanted to see one, but I didn't care. It ended up being Jericho and MJF are the official tag team of the Inner Circle, which makes no goddamn sense because what about Proud and Powerful?
It really grinds my
Just
gears.
shitting on Santana Ortiz. Jericho tried to hit a lion salt that did not go very well, and Twitter just tore that to pieces. And on one side, I get the hey, maybe if you can't do it, take it out of your arsenal thing. But on the other side, I get the dude's fucking 46 and he still probably hit a better lion salt than anyone else criticizing him could have hit. Even if it wasn't the best, even if he botched it.
I will say this. Jericho should not be doing the lion saw anymore. His style has completely changed. He should go and lean into that sort of thing. Kind of like sports athletes in any sport. Sometimes your athleticism just isn't where it needs to be, and you find other ways to be great. That's honestly what he should be doing here. But it's Jericho, it's part of his arsenal, so he's gonna keep doing it.
I agree. AEW spit or swallow. I'm gonna gargle undecidedly because I did appreciate the opening, and also Hangman saying no is a win for me. So while there was a lot of other stuff in there I didn't like, that was a big win. So I'm gonna sit on the fence and gargle undecidedly because also Hangman saying no wasn't a definitive no. It was kind of like an open-ended no or a no for now that they might return to. So
It's kind of like when you're dating someone and it's like I can't date. I don't want to be with you right now.
I don't want to be in a relationship right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to be in a relationship right now, you know. So that's what it feels like. Is there like a fourth option where I could just be undecided about anything where like I didn't hate the show?
Let's gargle undecidedly. That's you're in the middle. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. I can't go either way.
No, I can't. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It was just there. It just kind of happened, and it did no effect in my life whatsoever.
Okay. Well, we're gonna call that gargle undecidedly.
We're gonna gargle undecidedly.
We're gonna kick off SmackDown. Roman Reigns is basically on the mic cutting the promo of what some people considered his career, antagonizing Adam Pearce for his decision last week to put Kevin Owens in this match. Adam eventually comes out. Roman basically says, listen, you're a bitch. You're Kevin Owens' bitch. And if you're Kevin Owens' bitch and I run SmackDown, you're my bitch too. And then Adam says he'll take shit from Roman, but he's not going to take shit from Paul Heyman. And Roman says, Paul, handle your business. And out of nowhere, Paul Heyman challenges Adam Pearce to a fucking match.
Oh, I fucking love this, man. This shit was good.
It was. I did not expect them to challenge him to a match. And I thought I knew what they were going to play up. And it's kind of what they did. They ended up doing where it was going to be card subject to change. But later
honestly, that makes all the sense in the world, but I didn't even think that in my head.
Really?
I just like, oh no, I didn't like it was so far gone in my head. I didn't even think they might do that. In my head, I was like, oh shit, we're gonna see Paul Heyman versus Adam Pearce. Adam Pearce versus Paul Heyman. Sure, why not? I'll watch that shit. I just felt that Roman was gonna get involved and somehow get Paul the win over Adam Pearce. I didn't think they would actually do subject to change.
Oh, I knew they were going to subject to change it. At least I did. But they threw me because we had Paul Heyman and Roman backstage, and Paul's like, "We're on the same page. I'm with you. I knew where you were going. I love how you did this." And Roman's like, "What the fuck are you talking about? I told you to go out there and do what you do, and that was to destroy this guy verbally, and you challenged him to a match. So now you've got to go handle your business, and I'm gonna leave." And I'm like, "Wait a minute." You're really gonna I was like, oh, okay. Like they got me there. At that point, I was like, okay, Roman bailed and Paul's got to handle his business. I thought Jay or Apollo, somebody was gonna come down and get involved and help Paul get the win. But I thought they were gonna let Paul go out there and do it. And Roman was really gonna be like, hey, you threw a challenge out there, you're representing me, fucking nut up, go do your shit.
I love that though.
that was our main event, which ended up being Roman Reigns taking Paul Heyman's spot and beating the dog shit out of Adam Pearce until Kevin Owens, who said he was not going to be here, who cut a promo from what looked like his house, said he was banned from the arena when he showed up. They wouldn't let him in, but that's fine. He doesn't care. He'll handle his business at the Royal Rumble. He does show up and fucking takes it to Roman Reigns. We got stunners. We got all sorts of shit.
Pop up powerbomb through the table.
Yes.
I will say I love this because this is the first time in a long time, I think, other than Jey Uso, like maybe he got it like one time. I don't think Roman's had any comeuppance or repercussions for his actions since his return trying to be the tribal chief. This is the first time that someone has knocked him on his butt, so to speak, and now he has to get back up.
I love it and I hate it because they give me Stone Cold Steve Austin feels with Kevin Owens, but they're not going to go all in on him.
They're not.
And that bothers me because you have him and it's not just the stunner. It's the anti-authority, him coming in. It's his fighting style. It's his aesthetic, that brawler that Kevin Owens is. You know, he's got other moves. It's not just a Luthez press and a stunner and a vertical suplex or an elbow drop. Like, he's got a move set that he does, but he does have this attitude about him that's very Stone Cold Steve Austin-esque, anti-authority. But for whatever reason, they won't fully commit to letting him be that guy.
Yeah. That's tough, man, because right now you're dealing with Roman Reigns, and I think he's like literally the hottest thing in wrestling right now.
Yeah, but that's the thing is, if you went all in, you had him get arrested, you did a lot of the things that got Stone Cold to where Stone Cold was with KO. And I'm not saying mimic exactly, but along those lines.
This could be Rock Austin.
That's what I was going to say. That's exactly what I was going to say. You could have that feel. That could be a WrestleMania main event. Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns for the title. Could be a WrestleMania main event, Rock Austin-esque if you went that route. But they're not. They're not committing.
Yeah, no, definitely.
What else happened? Did you?
I was able to watch the whole show, by the way.
Yeah, I know, but like I said, time-wise, we're gonna. Sammy chained himself to a barricade to protest the Intercontinental title shit. He was there all night, and then we had a match, Apollo versus Big E, that Sami Zayn interrupted and caused a DQ in, which will probably lead to a triple threat match between those three for the IC title at Royal Rumble.
Yeah, which I'm all for.
Yeah. Big things. Cesaro fucking beat Dolph Ziggler. So Daniel Bryan's out there, declares himself for the Royal Rumble, says that's the one thing he's never done is win. Cesaro came out, said, no, you know what? I beat you. I'm going to win. Daniel's like, why don't we settle this now? I know you beat me last week. It's bothering me. Let's have a fight. Cesaro's like, I'm sick of doing that. I'm sick of coming out and being the really good wrestler guy and taking challenges. You're not dressed to fight. So what I'll do is I'll have an open challenge and come on out. And if I, winner gets in the Royal Rumble or whatever, Dolph comes out, cuts a promo. Cesaro beats him. Cesaro has now beat two former world heavyweight champions 2 weeks in a row. Not the best promo, but damn good in the fucking ring. And again, Shinsuke, Dolph Ziggler, Daniel Bryan, a lot of SmackDown candidates going into this Royal Rumble, whereas on Raw, it's Keith Lee because we like Keith Lee, but not really pushed. Wasn't even on the show this week. Lee, was he?
Don't recall him being on the show.
Yeah, wasn't even on the show. And Randy Orton and AJ Styles. Yeah.
I think it's safe to say that whoever winning this Rumble is going to challenge Roman Reigns. It's coming from the SmackDown side.
Okay.
At least on the men's Rumble.
No, I'm down for it. I'd actually like to see a Shinsuke or Cesaro or somebody get this win and do.
I think it's going to be Daniel to win the Rumble and challenge Roman. If
they're going to do it, for me, it's got to be Big E or Keith Lee. One of those two have to win.
I don't know about that.
That's where I'm at. Because they were kind of building that, and then it looks like they kind of backed away with the Apollo shit and went back to Sammy. So I don't know where they're at on that. Asuka and Charlotte defeat the Riot Squad because poor Billie Kay got in the way, and then the Riot Squad were so mean to Billie Kay.
I love Billie Kay, man. She should be the SmackDown GM. She should really be as much as I love Daddy DeVille over there rocking them suits. I really think that Billy Kay being the one just pestering Adam Pearce this whole time would be a better dynamic.
I agree.
Way better.
We're actually just going to cover everything because everything was pretty much good. Dominic loses to Corbin.
Mm-hmm.
Ray's like, hey, I've got a plan. And Dominic's like, dude, let me go out there and do this. Let me handle my shit. And Ray's like, all right, you can do it this time. But if it doesn't go well, we're going to go back to my way. And then Dominic basically gets squashed by Corbin.
Which makes sense.
We had the obstacle course that everyone was like, oh, I don't know if this is going to be, this was fucking good.
I knew this shit was going to be gold because Bailey is literally one of the most entertaining heels that they've had in a while. Bianca Belair, stop it. Stop. I will not have Bailey slander on it. Look, this was not going to be Bailey, this is your life. This was going to be some good shit. Even Ding Dong Hello last week had some good stuff going on with it. Again, ruthless aggression era, baby. Rose-colored glasses, bringing things full circle. Going back to the well again. This reminds me of Matt Hardy MVP when they did those like challenges back and forth, where MVP thought he was the shit and he kept losing to Matt Hardy in every single thing. Everything about this was fantastic. Everything from start to finish was great.
I agree with that, and I also brought up last week when everyone was like, this is going to be another Sami Zayn, Bobby Lashley thing, that no, this could be Matt Hardy MVP. So Bailey goes first. I was very disappointed because I thought maybe we were actually going to get Bailey in shorts when she got out of her Bailey tracksuit.
Yeah.
She got the track pants on. And if
I feel like she knows it's a thing.
To get Bailey in shorts, this was the time, and we didn't get it. Bailey does the obstacle course in like a minute and 21 seconds or something. She's got to flip a tire, run down, do hurdles. Then you've got the walls. Then you had to do a fireman's carry with Chad Gable.
Which she avoided the walls, by the way.
Then, well, we'll get to that. Then you had to make a shot on a basketball hoop. So Bailey flips the tire, struggles a little bit, but gets it over. Does the hurdles. They're small hurdles. Just walk, low to the ground. Gets to the wall, stutters a little bit, looks at it, approaches it, and then just kind of weaves in and out of them. Picks up Chad Gable. Very impressive. Struggles to get him across the finish line. Misses her first shot, makes her second, finishes in a minute and 21. Then she tells Bianca Belair before she starts, we're going to make this EST for you. We're going to EST it up. And they replace the little hurdles with real hurdles.
Mm-hmm.
Bianca smashes the tire like it's nothing, runs through the hurdles, jumps over all three walls, gets to Chad Gable. Chad Gable's like, oh, no, not me. This guy, and it's fucking Otis, 300 pounds of Otis. Bianca puts Otis on her shoulders and walks like it's nothing. Just impressive.
Fucking
all
boss. Yeah.
Tells Bailey, come on and guard me. Crosses Bailey over and then slam dunks the ball for the win.
Fucking amazing.
And then Bailey beats the shit out of her, whips her into the post, and fucks up her shoulder.
Bro, like, Bailey's making Bianca look like a fucking star.
She is. Well, Bianca is a star, and Bailey is accentuating that and bringing it out.
Yes.
Because there's a difference between making someone look like a star and showing that someone's a star. Bianca's a star,
highlighting her,
and Bailey's highlighting it. Yes.
Oh, this is great. This is probably the most entertaining, one of the most entertaining things. Honestly, SmackDown's the most entertaining show in general. Like this whole week and in wrestling, period, probably.
Well, we did have Reggie versus Sasha in an intergender match.
I love that match.
Well, you're a Sasha stan, so of course you love that match.
No, I thought it was good. It gave me Ellsworth, Becky Lynch vibes to it. That's why I love it so much. I will say that the finish towards the end was very sloppy and botchy, but other than that,
I enjoyed Reggie flipping out of everything. Just fucking like he took a tumbling class before this.
Yeah.
And he's just flipping and rolling and ducking and fucking parkour all over the place.
Parkour. Oh my gosh. I fucking love all of this. And forget about, I don't even care about Carmella. Give me Rich and Sasha Banks.
Carmella's fine as fuck. I saw people trashing Carmella saying Carmella has proved that she can go in the ring. She's not a 4-horsewoman. She's not a top tier, amazing Charlotte, Sasha Banks, Bailey-esque wrestler, but nobody else really is on the roster. Maybe Bianca Belair. We'll find out. But like Alexa, like no one's really on that level except for maybe like a Shayna and Oscar and Io. And like I said, Bianca. Even Becky, who's all charisma, in between the ropes isn't as technically sound and as technically impressive. She's more of a brawler.
Yeah.
So you don't need to be that level. Because not many people are. I wouldn't even say Shayna is at that level. Like Shayna's great. She's got that MMA style, but I wouldn't say in ring wise, as far as selling and work rate and everything, she's at the main eventing WrestleMania level of a Charlotte or a Sasha, you know, that top tier. Like I'd say she's just below it. Yeah. She's just below it.
Yeah. Just
maybe Rhea and maybe Bianca, you know?
Rhea, no. Bianca, yes.
Rhea and Charlotte tore it down at WrestleMania. And Rhea is my sleeper pick to win the Rumble. So
I've been saying she's my pick to win the Rumble.
Okay, so if she's going to win the Rumble and she tore it down with Charlotte at last year's WrestleMania, you don't think she's going to tear it down again when she comes to this WrestleMania?
I just don't think she's technically on the level of a Sasha.
I don't know. Those matches with fucking Giant Gonzalez.
But it was the last woman standing match.
It was not the first one. The first one was a straight up wrestling match where they literally, you could have put men in that match and put on the exact same match and you wouldn't have been able to tell the difference. They did not fight like, not saying that there's a big difference between female wrestlers and male wrestlers as far as they fight, but the male wrestling matches tend to be more hard hitting.
Yeah.
That was a hard hitting match. They beat the shit out of each other.
Okay.
Neither here nor there. Mm-hmm. Reggie loses to Sasha. Taps out.
Yeah.
Carmella's fine as fuck. And a decent mid-tier wrestler.
And you can't teach that.
SmackDown, spit or swallow. Last thing. Street Profits go to Sonya and ask for a rematch. And Sonya says, hey, can't give you a rematch because you're still hurt. So we're going to give some other tag teams a shot. And then when you're feeling better, we'll circle back to this. But for now, just be yourselves and promote the show and be entertaining until you're 100%. And then we'll talk again. So she definitely just kind of nicely gave them the, no, it's not going to happen. Fuck you. You know?
Yeah. Swallowing SmackDown. I gave it away already, but I think SmackDown is the best show of the week. I thought it was the best show. It's been the most consistent wrestling show.
Yeah, no, I'd say NXT is the most consistent wrestling show, but sports entertainment show, I'm giving it to SmackDown. I'm also swallowing SmackDown. I'm also going to say SmackDown was the best show of the week. I agree with you. I was entertained from start to finish for 2 hours. I mean, like I said, we were going to cover the highlights, and the highlights was every fucking segment.
Yeah, so, exactly. Exactly.
Pretty we didn't go in order, but we covered everything. Vince, tell them where they can find you on socials.
Pretty simple. Just follow me on Twitter, Instagram, everywhere at SESVince, capital SES, lowercase VINCE. What?
Nothing.
You giving me this look.
I still think it should be at Daddy Delgado, but that's neither here nor there. It's your socials.
I will make a burner account if Daddy Delgado is available, but I can never get rid of SES Vince because that is my gamer tag on PlayStation. It started with PS3. It's going to go on to PS5. I have to keep the consistency, man.
Let me ask you this real quick. Without the other stuff going on, is there going to be a Smackin' It Raw Instagram account?
Yeah, it's gonna happen regardless, one way or another. It's gonna be something that happens. So
okay, let me know because I killed it today with Bernie memes and different shit. Yeah, that I can send to you and you can put on Instagram. That'll be entertaining.
Or
I just don't do Instagram. It's not my thing.
Okay, well, if we give an option, we can link the Instagram with the Facebook page, so the memes that you post on Instagram will go directly into a Facebook post into the group page.
Okay. I'll make you an admin on the Facebook page, and we can get that straightened out.
We can get the ball rolling
because I was killing Twitter with those Bernie wrestling memes today. So.
Oh man, Send them. Well, once we get things straightened out, we'll start the memes. We'll start the posts for the weekly recaps. We'll make sure to get the links out there, which is a perfect segue to give everybody the links to where they can find the show.
Well, first, I also got a notification that my Shotzi Blackheart sticker's in the mail. You will not be driving it to me, unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
But it is in the mail. There's someone behind you.
Yeah. Hold on. Yeah, there is someone behind me. We'll just finish the show.
Okay. Thank God we're not on Pornhub. Currently,
right.
we are working on that. I talked to Travis. Verification. I'm gonna hound him, get it done. It shouldn't be too long. He put it on the back burner because he had other stuff he was working on. But in the meantime, you guys can follow me at Matt Ritter. That's at MATTRIDDER on Twitter. Also, please go check out The Creation World on Twitter and Instagram. That's The Creation World, THECREATIA World. Facebook.com/Creation World. Creation World is the banner under which we exist. So you guys can get all of the other podcast information from Trav. Super Flashy Arrow of Tomorrow is back. There was a new episode of Batgirl, so that is up. You guys can check that out if you are a fan of the CW universe. We've got other fun stuff coming for you as well. Travis is revamping the Patreon. Link trees are at Matt Ritter and also on Facebook, facebook.com/group/Smackin' Raw. Go there. We have chats for all of the shows. So if you're not on Twitter, if you're on Facebook, you want to talk wrestling during the shows, go there, join the chats. Sometimes they're popping, sometimes they're dead. Kind of depends on the show.
Yeah, for sure. And since we're not on Pornhub right now, go ahead and watch us on YouTube. Search up the YouTube channel, The Creation World. Subscribe over there. Help us get the subs going there, get the views going, like, comment, subscribe, get all that good stuff going. Again, you can find that through the Creation World link tree or the Smackin' Raw link tree.
It's the videos, the Creation World link tree. So it's linktree/Creation World will get you YouTube, Pornhub, and the merch.
Yeah, for sure. So go ahead and check it out, guys. We appreciate any views on YouTube as well, because you can see these beautiful faces on your screen.
And also, people reacting to crazy shit I say is way more entertaining to see their faces.
Exactly. We just had my mom walk in on set. You would have never known that on the audio version. Go watch it on YouTube.
Or you can see Katie and Savannah react to the dumb shit I said last week because Katie's facials are hilarious.
By the way, go back and watch last week's episode. It's fantastic.
For Daddy Delgado, Vince, I am the Warden, Matt Ritter. We are Smackin' Raw, and we are the #1 wrestling podcast, soon to be back on Pornhub.
Amen.